Hey everyone, this is Tammy. I'm giggling because I tried 5 times and I wasn't paying attention to the camera started. I'm just sitting here just smiling at it. So anyway, welcome to my channel. If you're new or just visiting, stopping by, hey, thanks for doing that. If you've been with me for a while or recently signed on, I appreciate you guys very, very much. And it's been a while since I did a video, so I got into his consult the other day, and I, just seemed to make sense to me to share a little bit here as far as some ideas that I had. So what what went down was the consult was with somebody who's going through some health issues, right? A lot of inflammation, and had a series of different types of tests done, um, medical tests, including the epigenetic or methylation testing. Um, and part of those methylation tests include, and I've seen it for years when I unfortunately ran them for people, but uh, one of the things, the report that is generated is the body's ability to detox. So it kind of gives you an idea what CYP450 enzymes are altered. Bear in mind, I do not use the acronym SNP, and I do not like to use the word defective or mutation. I don't believe in any of those things. I do know that it's a SNP. It's in the sense that there is a deactivation, at least a single deactivation, potentially a double deactivation. That said, though, that doesn't necessarily mean it's permanent. Um, it's uh, it's a situation that you're currently in. It's a snapshot at the time. Um, it's very difficult to wrap our heads around that things will get better, especially when you've been talking with a lot of medical professionals who kind of leave you feeling like this is it. Nothing's going to ever improve. You're kind of stuck managing this. So I do understand that, and so when I sit here and talk about things like this, there's almost a sense of idealism, and it really is just a mindset. It's not about an ideal body, an ideal health situation. It's really just a mindset that the body is adapting according to the extraordinary amount of information that's coming in. So when we're dealing with the ability to detox, um, if you stop and think about it for a minute, um, it's a brilliant mechanism that we have this innate nature to break down chemicals. A good example is through hydroxylation, and it turns a lipophilic chemical into a hydrophilic chemical, and then we're able to eliminate it. So a lot of these processes are in fact, um, and a lot of this came up actually also besides the consult is during the book. In the process of writing the book and my current newsletter, I start to share information about this. It's definitely in the book. I'm going to put the link in the box below if you care to take a look at the Aromagenomics book series. I'm doing a lot of things with that over there. There's a lot of perks if you join me on the journey, so to speak, if you care to donate to assist me in moving forward, because I'll just say it right here, for everybody that decides to donate at, however you can, I will be donating myself. I won't be donating myself, but I will in turn donate a salve. If you don't know what kind of salve I'm referring to, when I went through breast cancer treatment and radiation, I formulated my own salve. It's completely plant-based. I think it's a total of 6 ingredients. Instead of using their Cetaphil and their lidocaine to prevent pain and to try to keep the redness and blistering down as much as possible, I just made my own salve. And I was the only one in the group that tanned. I didn't blister, I didn't peel. And I had 30 days straight of radiation. So I know it works. And so for everybody who can assist me over here on Indiegogo, I will donate a salve to a local cancer center um, on your behalf, with your name and effort, so that you get the acknowledgement. But that's here, I mean, that's one thing. But anyway, when I was doing that book, working in that book, and like I said, the newsletter I'm currently working on for October, I do talk a bit about it because I feel like this information is very, very important. So as I mentioned, hydroxylation is in fact a way of breaking down chemicals and the ability to eliminate them. So that's one form of detoxification. Decarboxylation is another form of um, detox, where it takes carboxylic acids and removes the carboxyl and converts it into carbon dioxide. So guess what? We get to breathe. Plants do the same thing, but it's very interesting because the carboxylic process is photosynthesis. The decarboxylation is the opposite. So we produce carbon dioxide, which the plants can use, and then they have a carboxylic. So they take that carbon dioxide, and then they have a carboxylic process, carboxylation, which in turn helps with photosynthesis for them. So this is how we give and receive with plants. And so that would be your respiration, right? So that's another detox process. Then you got your CYP450 enzymes. Okay, so there's a series of enzymes there, especially like your 3A4, your 2D6, your 2B6. All of those don't work with a lot of oils because, I mean, if you're taking medication, so if your medication is being metabolized by those enzymes, then you cannot use oils that are also metabolized by those enzymes. So that's a really important component when it comes to using essential oils. Then, of course, there's the sulfation pathway. And then there's also the serum albumin. Okay, so those are 5 different modes of detoxing. Essential oils um, are, you can use them in all of them. I'm using a little caution here right now because, well, part of it is information in the book, and secondly, if you've been with me for a while, you've gotten used to the hesitation on my part to share a lot of information about oils because when medications are involved, it is not advisable to just go out there and randomly just select what you are reading about in a book or a website as something that's optimal for you, because constituents in the oils do bind to serum albumin, and if you're taking a medication and the oils you're using also bind, because serum albumin is where molecules from the medications will bind, and then it carries it out of the body. The same thing could be said for essential oil constituents. And so when you're taking them and they are competing for serum albumin, the oils will actually win out, and you have a higher level of the medication still floating throughout the body, higher blood serum levels. So potential for interactions is great. If they are being metabolized on the CYP450 enzymes at the same level, interactions are good. Sulfation pathway is another one. Again, this is another system that is activated and are affected by medications. So understanding the mode of elimination or detoxification is very, very important. And the reason why we do see alterations to the detox process, again, has everything to do with the alterations that are occurring to the epigenome. Okay, so there's I'm going to, just to simplify matters, there's almost like 2 segments to our genome. There is what we would consider to be the Mendelian genome, which is everything that we've inherited from our lineage. Okay, hair color, eye shapes, quirks. I mean, yeah, she's asleep on the floor right now. I recently acquired a tuxie. And what I find fascinating is these are black and white cats. It's not a breed. It's just the coloration. Okay, so it could be any breed. It could be a tabby. It could be any breed that's black and white. Whenever you see that tuxie look, if you go to my Instagram and she's in my stories, and I always put her on my stories. So, but anyway, if you want to take a look at her, and hang on a second. Here we go. I'll show you. In the meantime, find her. You can, well, here's one. That was her the other day. Just kind of after she got done playing with the bag, she did that. I don't know how old she is. She just showed up. Just showed up one day. Happened to walk in the back door when the door was open. Um, Let me see if I can find one of her face for you, and then I'll get back to my video. I just adore her. She's there she is. Let me see her. Yeah, this one. Anyway, um, what I was getting at is the black and white coloration. The reason for that is they call it, because has everything to do with the genome, they refer to that black and white coloration as a fluke. That's something that occurs while in utero. It's a fluke, and in the genetics, and it produces that coloration. But that same thing is they're finding that cats with this coloration have a tendency to be a little bit more quicker, intelligent, in intelligence, and they're talkers. And I can tell you straight up, she's got a lot to say, and she has figured out how to open the doors with the handle. And I don't. She's lucky if she's 2 months old. So I'm impressed. But anyway, again, it's a fluke. Okay, these flukes are just changes. So we have the Mendelian genome, and and that's pretty much what's fixed. And again, you'll get the flukes within the system that you might have siblings that from the very same parents, but at the same time they look like salt and pepper. That would be your fluke. At the same time, we have the epigenome, and the epigenome is reactive. It's constantly responding to the environment. And although the DNA is in fact responsible for all actions of the full genome, there are transponal elements, and I talk about this in Breaking the Cycle of Disease Management. There are transponal elements on the DNA strand. And by the way, if you sign up to help me out with Aromagenomics book series, you'll actually get that program. But the transponal elements are segments of the DNA that have the ability to relocate. That's your epigenome. And depending on what's going on, oxidative stress is signaled. We need oxidative stress, and so that stuff starts to get produced, and then thereby you now have inflammation. Keep in mind that the hydroxylation, the methylation, the decarboxylation, the sulfation pathway, and the CYP450 enzymes are all part of the epigenome. Okay, that's really important to remember. That's the reason why when you take your methylation test, it's on the test. They're part of the epigenome, which means if MTHFR gets switched off, and again, how it unfolds in your system is very dependent upon your lifestyle, your mindset, and your inherited genetics. Okay, so all of that is a factor. It's the reason why we cannot predict anybody's one response to any particular thing. We are walking chemistry labs. So that said, the detox process is in fact impacted by alterations along the epigenome, and those alterations are purposeful. So as I said, if the need for oxidative stress is there, then alterations will occur. They almost become transfixed, again, depending on your mindset, your behaviors, which is including your lifestyles. But nothing is, as far as I can tell, and from what I've investigated, nothing is irreversible. It's just a matter of it becomes almost stuck in high gear, is the way I would put it. And it becomes a vicious cycle. So if there's alterations to the MTHFR, there's going to be alterations to the way the body produces SAMe and methionine and SAMe. There's going to be alterations to the CBS and the sulfation pathway. It just kind of goes on and on and on because it's all impacted. The VDR, the nitric oxide synthase, which is your NOS, your COMT, and on and on and on. Okay, so all of those are impacted, which includes the way the body detoxes. So one of the things that this individual brought up to me the other day was that there was commentary on the neurotransmitters, and I don't recall which test she was referring to, but it was showing, and I know I've talked about this in other videos, but it was showing that like she had too much dopamine, and but dopamine was the big consideration. And so there's a number of factors for that. I mean, if you're exposed to heavy metals, there would be another, but that's one, but not necessarily the big one. The big one for me, there's two really big ones, and that's what brings me to this video. The first one is the fact that cortisol is known to alter the dopaminergic mesolimbic pathway. Okay, we just know this. It's like caffeine can do it, cocaine can do it, alcohol. I mean, everything. And I've talked about this before. We used to call people addicts, and we used to, they went into treatment, they were going in for addiction treatment. They're now going in for substance abuse disorder treatment because the definition of addiction is changed to the brain. And unless you go through imaging that can demonstrate that your dopaminergic mesolimbic pathway is in fact altered, you can't claim addiction. So that's the definition of addiction. I just really need to be very clear about that. But if we live with substance abuse disorders, there's obviously help for that if you're seeking it. You can go through recovery and treatment and so forth. And so there's a number of substances that will change that structure, which includes caffeine, and caffeine being listed in the DSM-5 as the number one addictive substance being consumed around the world. I think they say there's approximately 90% of the population consuming caffeine on a daily basis. Something I shared on Instagram just lately is the fact, I want you guys to hear this. This is being reported through government entities, and you can only believe which, you can take it for what it's worth. I believe it. I believe it because well, a couple things. The reason I believe it is because things can go into products. The FDA has approved the ability to that there are certain ingredients, as long as if they're negligible, meaning that they measure out at zero or just under, that's it's just minor. You know what I'm saying? It's negligible. It's so concentrated that it's really kind of just measuring out at zero. You don't have to put it on the label. If it's labeled or considered a dietary aid, dietary supplement, then it doesn't really get checked. And so that's what caffeine is listed as. It's weird because the FDA looks at it as a dietary. Why am I losing my words here? It's considered dietary. Okay, I'm just gonna stop there. That's what the FDA says. The DSM-5, like I mentioned, actually labels it as an addictive substance. So that point is that it's being added to foods. I think I saw something the other day. It's in syrup, it's in jelly beans, it's in waffles. It's been added to sunflower seeds. I mean, there's a whole list of foods. Like I said, that is, I put that on Instagram. You can actually find that on my Instagram account. That link, Tammy Davis 8, is down below. But it's fascinating to me that this has been added to foods, and the point of that is that caffeine does alter the dopaminergic mesolimbic pathway. It also stimulates the production of cortisol, which is known to do the same thing. And so therefore, if you have additional dopamine receptors being added because of these substances, you're going to be producing more dopamine. If you have a lot of stress, if you have a lot of things, if you do things like that bring you, it's the reward neurotransmitter. That's what we call it, the reward. So if you're always seeking to be rewarded in something in life, whether it be through scrolling social media or playing music or painting, it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but that would explain why the dopamine levels would be higher at that rate. It doesn't mean that you don't have enough to, I mean, you're doing other things. It just means that there's more in the brain, and that was my one supposition, because I don't know this individual. The other one is along the sulfation pathway. The sulfation pathway is designed to help deactivate catecholamines. And dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, these are all catecholamines, hence COMT. So once the body uses it all, or uses it for as it's needed, because here's the other thing, dopamine is actually helps to move fluids. And if it's not being utilized to move fluids, then you have, if you've got too much in the brain, it's not utilizing fluids, you're going to actually have more inflammation. And the histaminergic pathway is also right there. So histamine is encouraging or influencing dopaminergic activity. So now you have a lot of inflammation, and so therefore, and if the body can't detox it and deactivate it, you're going to have higher levels of inflammation. So supporting the sulfation pathway is imperative. And again, part of this comes down to, yes, you want to use essential oils. Which ones you need really depend on what the heck your profile looks like, what's going on with you. It's really difficult at this point to even make blind suggestions. I would certainly recommend taking Epsom salt baths. I would encourage you to sign up for my newsletter because, like I said, this is going, and some of this information is going into the newsletter. Recommendations: a vitamin B complex is absolutely necessary because it supports the decarboxylation process. But helping to actually move the lymph system is also very necessary, as well as supporting the kidneys and getting the fluids moving. So that sulfation pathway is absolutely necessary. So soaks and baths, Epsom salt, is because it has the sulfate in it, so it's actually going to support and pull fluid off the body. That's a short-term resolution. It's not altering the epigenome so that these things can relax and be more fluid, if you will. So using oils to support your digestive system in a way that you're actually breaking down proteins. Okay, sleep is impacted by this because melatonin is, that's another thing I've been talking a lot about, and it came up while writing this book. Melatonin is not the sleep hormone we think it is. That's another supplement because melatonin, believe it or not, is considered a dietary aid. It's actually considered nutritional. It's a hormone, and it's a hormone used for inflammation. It's an anti-inflammatory, and the reason it kind of has more like an antihistamine effect on the body is what melatonin is. It's almost like an antihistamine, and this is the reason why so many people have sleep issues. So really getting into help using essential oils to begin the, when I say digestive process, you guys, I'm not just talking about the gut and the bowels. I'm also referring to the degradation of protein and sugars to be assimilated at the cellular level. Okay, that is where digestion ends. Okay, so it's not just in your mouth, in your gut, in your belly, and out the other end. It's also what can your cells use. One of the things is, an inadequate source of micronutrients is not our problem. Okay, we don't need to be taking melatonin, and here's why. This is why I said to you, when it's listed as a nutritional dietary aid, this not being double checked, and there was a university out of Canada that started testing some of these, and never got put anywhere big, but what they discovered was the fact that some of these supplements, melatonin supplements, actually had serotonin added to it. Serotonin syndrome is serious. So anyway, I'm going to suggest that you sign up for my newsletter, and I'm trying to think of what else. So like I said, B vitamins. I would get on like a betaine hydrochloric acid supplement. Drop your probiotics. Start taking Epsom salt baths. Definitely use magnesium. Do not use the magnesium supplement unless you suffer from constipation. Just get magnesium oil or cream and start putting it all over your body, because it's a natural calcium channel blocker, and calcium is keeping the immune system on high alert until you can get everything stabilized. These are steps that have to be taken. Again, Epsom salt baths are really very good for this. But in order to help regulate these catecholamines and actually support the body's breakdown of these, you want to avoid using any oils with phenols in them. Okay, that would be things like carvacrol and thymol and chavacol and eugenol. You want to avoid using any oils with those constituents in them. That means if you're using oregano oil, stop it. The carvacrol is, that is a serious phenol. And the sulfation pathway, catecholamines, those are phenols. Okay, stop using your lip balms. Check out where, because there's phenols in a lot of plastic products. It's time to, again, the elimination of these products and these things doesn't have to be permanent, but at the very least, make it so right now until, again, you get the body stabilized. Boy, I got really excited on all over this one, didn't I? So, um, but that is the big deal, okay? When it comes to that sulfation pathway, and this is what I'm gonna say is it has a lot to do with our inflammation, is the body's inability to actually deactivate those catecholamines and eliminate them, because we have so many phenols in our environment, and they're also in our essential oils. So, Thymol, Cavricol, Chavicol, and Eugenol are big ones. That includes methyl-eugenol, which is really sad because some of those are actually really very important to our overall wellness. Um, so there you have it. There's another way of looking at essential oils that it's what to avoid. And then let me think what else. I think that's where I'm gonna leave it at that. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Again, check out Aromagenomics book series. Please um, follow me on Instagram. Sign up for my newsletter because, like I said, this information is coming out is big. It's important, and it's really, as far as I'm concerned, about to set the record straight as far as how we can achieve wellness safely and mindfully with the current medical model that we have. This isn't about either or. This is about two worlds coming together. All right, you guys, thank you very much. You have a really wonderful evening. See ya.